Good afternoon, everyone. Call to order the Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 meeting, the Sugar Land Development Corporation. Public comment. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment?
We have no one signed up.
Okay, thank you. Number 3, resolutions. Consideration of and action on Sugar Land Development Corporation Resolution Number SLDC R2502. Resolution approving and authorizing the Sugar Land Development Corporation to enter into an agreement with the City of Sugar Land regarding the site improvements in the Imperial Historic District for economic development purposes. And we have Devin Rodriguez, Director of Redevelopment. Devin?
Good afternoon. There we go. All right, so we've got several actions, or one action for the Sugar Land Development Corporation, and this we're going to follow with a 4B meeting as well. The presentations are going to be similar, but there are some different requirements between the two corporations. So bear with me while some of you may hear some of the information twice, but we thought this might be the cleanest way to go about it. So starting off, we are on an exciting journey to redevelop the Imperial Historic District. On February 14th, the city announced that we were pursuing acquisition of this property. It includes a historic district as well as other land around it. And we are actively working on our due diligence and those types of things. At that time, when we made the announcement and then council made future actions related to this acquisition, we had a budget related to a certificate of obligation that we noticed in the paper. And in a couple of weeks, the city council will also consider sale of this certificate of obligation. But as part of this, we have set up this debt that the 4A and 4B corporation would be paying the debt service on this $50 million.
The discussion, if you would like, in case you change your mind, or if
That's a good check, talking with your mouth closed.
Okay. So this was the original budget when we went forward with the notice to notice the certificate of obligation. Council had to take an action to put a notice in the paper with the maximum amount for that certificate of obligation. We could not, and when we come forward in a couple of weeks, it can't be more than that $50 million amount. That is the maximum. This was a budget that at the time that we were working from. Project has been evolving as we know that there are other things in addition to the land acquisition that are going to need to be done. Char House preservation and preserving that building is a big priority, as well as some other one-time capital expenses and contingencies. So over the last month or so, month and a half, we have been going back to all of that information that we have related to the Char House and what will it take to preserve that building. This was an assessment that was done in 2022 that we worked with a historic architect on of what was really going to be needed to mothball preserve the building. At that time, the total combined cost, again, this is not necessarily like making any sort of adaptive reuse to the building, but it is preserving it, enhancing it. The windows are a big portion of it. At that time, the total combined was about 7.6. Our preservation priorities are the roof, all the windows. We would like to simulate the aluminum windows, but this method would need to, any of the methods would need to be approved for other historic projects who receive tax credits. So all these, as we move forward with working with the consultants, we'll make sure that these things follow the historic preservation guidelines. Stabilizing the liquor gallery, that's that building that hangs off the north side of the building. Brick restoration, again, this is all part of insulating the building so that you're not getting water or other types of penetrations in. And then the mechanical ventilation. So all those things to make sure that as it's sealed and you're not getting the weatherized.
Where we're headed with this, and then we can kind of discussion on.
Do you want me to continue or wait? Okay, I guess we're going to continue. So these are the priorities related to the Char House. Hold on a second. Okay, here are some of the current conditions. So you can see that brick there. Again, this is penetrations that are then coming into the building. So the priorities is to seal the building to make sure it's preserved, and also the main enhancement being those windows, which is also a big portion of making sure that outside elements aren't coming into the building. So with that, this is our current final certificate of obligation budget. Again, we're going to continuously be working within this $50 million, making sure that we're refining costs and getting as much out of it as we can. But you can see that our land acquisition costs are a little bit lower, Char House preservation being a little bit higher, the one-time capital expenses, and we've embedded in all of these line items the contingency. So the contingency is built into all of them rather than it being a separate line item in the previous budget. These are the acquisition and financing actions. These are the next steps that are going to have taken or will be taken. So on March 19th, we did give the 4B board, which is meeting after this, an update on the project and next steps. There was also, as it relates to the 4B statute, a public notice that we had to do that they will also follow up on in their next meeting, and that was published on March 26th. And then we're having this joint meeting today. 4B has a public hearing and funding resolution and the agreement. SLDC only has the funding resolution and the approval of the agreement. And then City Council tonight will consider the funding resolution and both agreements with the 4B and the SLDC. And then future actions being that consideration of the sale of the certificate of obligation and the city acquiring the property. So the agreement that is before you today is an agreement between the City of Sugar Land and the Sugar Land Development Corporations for payments to the city from the sales tax of the 4A in an amount not to exceed 50% of the debt service on the certificates. And then within 15 days of closing of the certificate of obligation, the city needs to provide the schedule of the principal and interest payments. That's the gist of what the agreement is. It's basically making that legal agreement between the corporations and the city that the SLDC will be funding up to 50% of that debt service for the certificate of obligation. Again, it's a percentage, so it can fluctuate as each budget year goes on in terms of just ultimate budget flexibility, but it is committing from the corporations to the city this debt service. And as a reminder, this is our financial capacity to trailblaze on this project. This is the 4A, 4B, and hotel occupancy tax, all combined in terms of its total capacity. You'll see what the overall debt service is, which is a small portion of the overall capacity. And this capacity does take into account our current debt service that we have, our current program budgets for economic development and redevelopment, current incentives that we already know that we have contractually obligated. So all of those are taken out of that blue, and that's just really what our overall capacity is from the cash that accumulates also over time to do this project. So with that, our recommendation is consideration and action on the resolution approving and authorizing the Sugar Land Development Corporation to enter into an agreement with the City of Sugar Land regarding the restoration and improvement of historic structures in the Imperial Historic District for economic development purposes.
Questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comment or questions?
Question.
Carol?
So why is it called the Liquor Gallery? Is that from the production process of the sugarcane?
Yeah, Jessica, do you have that? Where's Jessica? Oh, there she just walked in. My understanding is it's where they did mixing of, I've also heard of it. They're asking about the Liquor Gallery. What happened in the Liquor Gallery? Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. Thank you, Devin. And I think, Carol, would you like to?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.